FNCS Group 2 is now done. I want to break down who popped off and who struggled. We had some massive wins from teams like Peterbot and Queasy, but we also had a lot of drama on the smaller regions. We had Cal Gamer's team being accused of deliberately throwing their win so another team could qualify, and people now saying they should be banned for this. We also had an OCE team, Power Luda, not able to play semifinals because Epic randomly moved him back into Groups 1, which is already finished. I also want to give my predictions for how I think Group 3 is going to go. We have Mr. Savage, Mongrel, and Panzer playing today. Do I think they'll qualify? Over on NA, we have Kanata versus Acorn. There's lots to break down. Let's jump into it. Now, before we talk about groups today and my predictions for groups tomorrow, we have to talk about the next step in the saga of what is going on with the groups. So now, on top of everyone being disqualified because of stream sniping and removed from groups and being re-added back onto groups like I've talked about, we have another development. We have some OCE teams, Luda being one of the main ones, and Alec, who were removed from Group 1 leaderboard and moved to Group 2 leaderboards. They couldn't play Group 1. That's normal. But then right before the start of Group 2, they got moved back onto Group 1 leaderboard, the tournament they can't play because it's already finished, and now they can't queue up Group 2 because they're not in Group 2. I have no idea what is happening and what Fortnite's going to do to fix these kind of situations. There are so many teams that are just getting completely screwed for seemingly no reason. And whether you still think those teams were disqualified for stream sniping, were stream sniping, whatever, this is an entirely different situation where Luda has done nothing wrong and just doesn't get to play groups now. I'm guessing they'll try to fit him into Group 3 or something, but why are the groups changing the day of the group? And how is this even an option to move him back to Group 1? Surely this isn't an automatic system. Someone has to be manually doing this. How can you manually move someone from a group they're about to play into one they now can't play and not think that's going to be an issue? I just really don't know what's happening. Before I talk about EU and NA, I'm going to talk about a region. I don't talk about too much Middle East because we had a very weird situation happen today in Group 2 of Middle East where Cal Gamer's team seemingly gave another team the win so they wouldn't qualify and the other team would instead. This is the clip here. This is from Not Bodo Stream, who's doing a watch party of the Middle East Group 2. So as you can see, there's a duo on low ground. They're not looking very healthy. No spare meds, 15 builds. Meanwhile, Cal Gamer's full trio on high ground is randomly cranking 90s to the moon and just going down in Storm. All three of them dying to Storm as a full healthy trio on high ground. Now, it's worth mentioning Cal Gamer's team went on to win 2 games later. They came second place in the first game, then they came 12th, and then they came first. Now, it's a bit of a weird situation. I don't really know how to feel about it. We did see, and we had people asking, would other teams do this? Like Peterbot, Veno's team, teams that are really, really consistent, really likely to qualify. Will they deliberately not qualify if they do well so they can hold down their drop spot for the rest of the tournament? And I thought, maybe not. Like Peterbot might be the team to do it, but in Group 2 today, he won Game 1, went straight through and qualified. I'll talk about that in a little bit, but I think for teams like Peterbot and Veno, who we know almost definitely are not going to be contested in Grands because teams are just too scared of them, they don't really have much to lose. Yeah, teams might take their drop spot after Game 1 and they might get a good game and qualify off it, but are they likely going to contest them in Grand Finals? No. Now, I don't watch much Middle East, so I don't really know whether that's the case for Cal Gamer. I know Cal's team is crazy. They are one of the favorites to do well in Grands. Obviously, they can just throw away a win knowing they're going to get another one. So I don't know if this situation's different. I heard some people in my Twitch chat saying they gave the win to their friends. I can't verify that at all. I don't know if they have any relation with this team. I'm trying to reach out to a few people in the Middle East scene. It's very late at night here. I'm trying to get more info, but this is the best I have. You can judge it how you want. I think it's very clear they deliberately didn't play to the best of their ability, which is technically against terms of service, but a lot of teams do this. How many times do we have teams who, going into their last game will deliberately go down on spawn or jump or go down in Storm so they can get another game, whether that's to try to, hold down their drop spot in opens or whether it's to try to get more points. There's a lot of instances where it's actually in the team's best interest to not win a game or not do well for the betterment of their tournament. So I'm not saying that I think Cal's team should get banned for this. I do think it should maybe take some attention from Epic about how the format works, and maybe these victory hour qualifications aren't the best system. Maybe we should retire this and just save it only for last chance qualify. Maybe just the top 10 teams go through. I find them extremely exciting, but if Epic really does have a huge issue with this from a competitive integrity standpoint, I think the only way you fix it is getting rid of these reboot style qualifications, unless it's in a round like last chance where there's so few spots up for grabs, there's so much on the line, there's no way a team could ever throw that because they needed to qualify. But it is a gray area. I understand why people are upset. Again, I don't have the full story because it's very hard to get when I don't follow the region. If you guys want to give more context or give me your thoughts in the comments down below, it would help a lot. All right, let's get into breaking down EU and NA's groups. Now, like I said, I think NA Group 2 was the best group. These games were incredible. I do think EU's Group 3, which is taking place today, as of you watching this video, I think that's probably the best group, but EU Group 2 was really good. We'll kick off with NA, and we opened it up with, of course, a Ritual Cold Peterbot Victory Royale. They rolled out, they got the first game VR. There was no concern of whether they were going to give away the win. They had a free high take, an absolutely dominant 13 kill win. They strolled straight through into grand finals in the same way they've basically strolled through this season. Now, Vidil, Cooper, and Sphinx came second. We got a little bit of what I feel like Grands is going to be. Quite a few of those games. Vidil's team on low ground, Pete's team on high ground, a crazy battle. Pete's team did take it home. Then in game number 2, we had Muzz, Yapko, and Rise take out the win with a 9 elim win. And again, Vidil, Cooper, and Sphinx picking up another second place. It's worth mentioning Muzz's team also came third in that game 1 as well. So we just had an absolute clash of titans in this super stacked groups. Then we had Vidil, Cooper, and Sphinx take the win. So they got second, and then first. Ridiculous consistency out of them. Game number 4 went to none other than Victor V, Skittles, and Chimp. This is probably the hardest fought win of the day so far. It was only at game 4 and 5 where teams started to really contest for height. The first 3 games, pretty much whoever was on height just held it from the early end game and then went on to win the game. But Victor V, Skittles, and Chimp went for a late high ground take. Really, really dominant performance. Chimp dropped down, and this is one of my favorite clips of the day. Just wait till you hear what Skittles tells Chimp to do.
I'm 6 build a coin. Yeah. Do something crazy, Chimp. Take.
I'm coming down. I'm one.
Nice. Check teams.
Three.
He dropped him the coin, told him to do something crazy, and he drops down on almost 1v3s for the win. A super clutch win. And then our most underrated win of the day went to Nut, Liam, and Fred, who took out game 5. Now remember, the top 5 still do make grand finals as well. So we had Scare, Sinetto, and V, very underrated team. They played super well throughout the day. They had a bunch of huge placements, 4th, 5th, 4th, and 2nd, as well as an 18th. So very deserving there. Then we had Booga. Again, we cannot have an NA Grands without Aviv, Booga, and Threats. They did get 10th, 10th, 12th. It was looking a little bit sketchy, and then a 3rd and a 6th, but they were taking height early most of the end games. Then usually someone would play a bit aggressive, kind of take it off them. At the very end, they went out, they went big. They almost got the win in that game 4 before we then saw that crazy clutch from Skittles, but they ended up to get through on consistency. Then we had Aoxy, Jojo, and Pikes, who played extremely well. We had Aaron, Joji, and Nerface. Now remember, Joji did get dropped by Donnie, had to find a new trio the day of FNCS. Super excited to see this team go through to grand finals. Then we had Possessed, Ralphie, and Diego. So we are missing some big names here as well. Obviously, the biggest name, I think, for me, that was kind of looking at to do really, really well here. We had Chavi's team miss out. We had Bacon, Cam, and Macwood. I also had picked to do really, really well here, but it was a very, very good qualifier. These teams do still have last chance. As far as looking forward to EU a little bit as well, a bit of a teaser for my prediction later today. We did get to see how well Aoxy, Jojo, and Pikes did with Uncontested Bird. That was their drop spot, being one of the most consistent teams on the day. The drop spot does have big potential for consistent games if you play it well for Mongrel's team. Now, moving on over to EU, we had a similar situation with Peterbot. We had Queasy, Swizzy, and Mustache, the favorites to win it, come out, stroll out, and get the freest win in game 1. I say the freest because it's Queasy's handbook. It's taking height early, but they took height off the island. They basically chilled on the island the entire game until they got the win, and it was such an easy win. This was their reaction.
Yeah, that one. Crack. The duo. Crack. Let's go down, no? Dead or 60 white?
Dead. I'm just saying everything.
Fucking hell, this was actually funny.
I mean, they were favorites to qualify anyway, but I think getting such a lucky endgame with the island and playing it so well, it did just make it feel like it was easy, so it wasn't a super exciting celebration from them. We did have Grippe, who managed to take the game 2 win. I'm super proud of predicting this as my underrated team to take a win. They were Condon Spawn, but they played a fantastic game. They qualified. Grippe was streaming it. Super hype for them. Then we had game number 3 go to CZB, Eclipse, and Nathan, the British boys, the full trio making it through. That is another controller player into Grands as well now for EU, which is actually quite a few. Then we had game number 4 go to another Spanish team. So we now have 2 Spanish trios qualified now inside to going to Grands. Andesito, Kifo, and Marvik. I probably mispronounced those. I'm sorry. And then game number 5 went to the Polish trio. They played amazing. Pix, Dam, and Damus. They were playing really well throughout the whole day. They got an 8th, 2nd, 5th, 6th, and then won the last game with 17 elims. And 2 of their games before that had 10 elims as well. So extremely dominant team. Definitely a team to look out for coming into Grands. Got to talk about the rest of the top 5 as well. We had Nefrizi, Ilusha, and Starkus. We had Yako, Nako, and Kyrie. So 3 Spanish teams now in Grands, which is awesome for the Spanish community. They've been pretty quiet for the last year or so, so really happy to see them pull it off. Then we had Chap, Yanis, and Noah Riley clutched up. It did come really close for them. Noah Riley pulled off an insane solo clutch 5th place that got them the points. Then we had Fastroki, Ankido, and Volko, and then just qualifying by 1 singular point was Pink, Nebs, and Chino. That means we are missing some big teams out of EU. PKR's team just missed out. Floki's team just missed out as well. We had Andalex not qualify through. Cringe didn't make it through. Alba, who I was gassing up as a chance to have our first female grand finalist. We had Hellfire also fall short. Akira didn't make it, so big for the Kami Seti and Hari fans. Akira, Podesai, and Xweezy, the team that's been a thorn in their side throughout this whole season, came 28th overall because they were conned on spawn by Pix, Dam, and Damus, who again are a Polish team. So both Polish teams getting the better of the Frenchmen, and now I don't think Pix's team is going to be dropping on Kami in the grand finals if Kami quals. He's in group 3. I'll talk about that in a little bit, but they were originally going to go pumped power, so I think they're going to go back to their regular drop, and it was a really good spawn fight for them. So unfortunately, Akira's team just having a world of pain at the hand of the Polish. All right, let's talk about our last group, group 3. Now, starting today, I'll be doing a watch party live on my Twitch channel. If you want to swing by, we're going to be doing V-Buck giveaways, a bunch of cool stuff, and we have a pretty stacked group for NA. Not as good as group 2, but I think definitely better than group 1. So for me, who I think is going to get through, we have Acorn Aegis Poyo, Rapid Kanata Bolt, Bucky Okus Craze, Noxy Virgo Curly, Quanti Byler Edgy. I'm guessing those 5 will get wins, but if they don't get a win, I think they'll definitely be top 5s. My top 5 without getting a win would be OG, Oliver OG, Dash, and Skater, Taki, Aishu, and Npen, Noah, DC, and Chaos, Sharkman, Elsa, and Ral, and then Zemo, Fusiak, and Scuffies. Now, let me defend these picks a little bit. So the top 5, they're all uncontested. You've got some of the best teams in the region. Rapid Kanata Bolt's going Demon Dojo, been looking crazy. Kanata's back on his grind. He's been streaming tokens and playing very seriously at the moment, which is a great sign. Even if Rapid Kanata Bolt weren't locked in playing serious, I still think they're definitely qualifying. Acorn, Aegis, and Poyo, uncontested at night shift. They're just way too good. You can't not have them getting a win. Bucky, Okus, and Craze, if you guys have seen, Bucky's taking a bit of a hiatus from streaming. He said he's not going to stream until after grand finals. He's been locked in, playing scrims off scene, really dialed in. My only concern for Bucky, Okus, and Craze, they're going their usual drop of the dam, but Craze has injured his wrist. Apparently, he is playing with some kind of cast on, unless chat is lying to me, which I don't believe so. Craze has injured himself, but Bucky doesn't seem to think it's bad enough where it's not going to have them qualify. Noxy, Virgo, and Curly, insanely dominant trio. They've been playing really well all season. They're dropping Kappa Factory, and they're getting a whole bunch of the loot to the north and south of it. There's no team contested around them. They shouldn't be getting lurked on, even though their split's pretty wide. I think they'll do really well. And then we had Quanti, Byler, and Edgy doing it out of Masked Meadows. Not Masked Meadows, sorry, Hopeful Heights. Now, they're used to obviously not getting this kind of loot. This loot usually does go to Vidil, Cooper, and Sphinx. I think Quanti's team is almost definitely going to get a win with a very early aggressive height take from Quanti. It's the classic Quanti playbook, and I think they have the loot for it. And with 5 games, I think in at least one of them, they pull off the high ground take and they will win a game. As far as my top 5 and not getting a win, we do have Oliver OG's team also contested at the mountain just next to Hopeful Heights. We have Taki, Ishu, and Npen at the fields. I think they should be able to pull off something pretty big here. We have Sharkman, Elsa, and Ral. This one I'm starting to get a little bit less confident. They are going to be going Canyon, which I do not like as a drop. I think Canyon's a pretty terrible drop, but I think it's good enough for a top 5 here. And then Zemo, Fusiak, and Scuffies. Now, if you look at the top northwest of the map here on NA, it is looking pretty messy. There's a lot of teams conning here. It looks very messy, but the way I think it'll play out is I think Fusiak's team will be able to get uncontested Whiffy Wharf and then be able to push whichever team they want. Either they could push to the east and try to take advantage of the Fallen versus Oracles fight, or they can push Slepsy and Shipsky. Now, this could get ugly very quickly if one of these teams starts trying to 50-50 Whiffy Wharf instead. I hope Fusiak's team has it locked down if that's the case, but I think how many teams are around them and how ugly it's going to be actually could be an advantage to them. And if they get a few good games, get the loot, and get off, off, they can actually go on to get a top 5. So top 10, that's my NA predictions. There are some really good teams in this heat. There are also quite a few good teams that are contested. We do have Somerset in this group. She is going to be con. She's going to be doing her best to try to qual out of Warriors Watch. That would be our first female in grand finals. I would love to see it, but being held down by Gary, Jezza Jerem, and Doxy, a good team, it's going to be very tough for her. All right, let's go through our EU predictions. With a win, no surprise, Vico, Veno, and Flixie. I think Cami, Seti, Hari, Thomas, Tripper, and Frodoxy, Malabuka, Wox, Ping, and Blaha, Mixon, and Comeback are also all favorites to get a win. I'll talk about why in a second. Now, I know what you're thinking, Aussie, you haven't talked about Savage, Mongol, Panzer. Don't worry, I've got them getting a top 5. I don't know if they'll get the win. I think they definitely could, but I'm very confident they will either get a win or a top 5. I also have Rescard, Della, and Focus, QB, Lunex, and Sanguild, Guden, Clown, and Moneymaker, and Skyjump, Mumsy, and Shaco's qualifying out of top 5 without a win. I do have an underrated win in here, which is a little bit cheeky. I'm picking an 11th team. I really hope ADN, Jakey, and Michael can pull off the Cinderella run. Absolute goats of the competitive scene, haven't been playing for years, have come back, locked in. The British boys are trying to qualify here. They are contested out of Hopeful Heights, but they are a really good team. If they can make it off spawn here with good loot a couple times with a good zone, I really think they could be a team to take a win here and go straight through to grand finals. As for why I've picked these teams, you'll notice Vico, Veno, Flixie are contested right now by Artskill, Misha, and Khan. I do think this might be a fake out though. Misha has been known to do fake drops and have weird kind of situations in finals. I don't think Misha thinks their best chance of making it to grands is contesting Vico. They might also just be trying to claim the drop once Vico quals, pretty much like we had on NA. A lot of people are expecting that just like Peterbot, Vico's team's going to win game 1 and then the drop is up for grabs. They could be making a play for that. I'm not sure, but even if they are conned, at least one of the games, they'll make it out with loot, and I think they'll definitely get a win. Cami, Seti, Hari, uncontested at Mast Meadows. They're looking amazing as always. You have to lock them in for at least a win or a top 5. Usually if this was duos, I would say Cami Seti might not get a win, but they'll get through on consistency. The firepower of Hari is making this team much stronger when it comes to the win potential. Thomas, Tripper, and Frodoxy, they are going brutal box cars. The train is back. They're getting their mythic assault rifle. The only time this team has been struggling this season is when they tried to switch drop spots. Now they're back at brutal box cars. They've got the mythic AR in Thomas HD's hand. I think they'll be completely fine. We have Malabuka, Wox, and Ping again at a night shift forest. An absolute guaranteed locked in qualification, if not a win, a top 5 without a doubt. And then we have Blaha, Mixon, and Comeback. They're going Shattered Span. Shattered is not as good of a drop now. Again, it has been nerfed since recently, so Savage's team leaving there and going over the Bird was a fantastic choice. But if you're wondering why Mr. Savage, Mongol, and Panzer are not going Shattered Span, that's why they've gone back to their OG drop at the Bird, because the Bird has been buffed to drop metal again out of the walls. But I will say the Bird as a whole now gives less than half the metal that it used to give. So it's gone from brick back to metal predominantly, but it's not as much metal as it used to be. So we'll see whether Mr. Savage, Mongol, and Panzer can pull that off. I still think they can, uncontested. No crazy teams around them that should be pushing them or causing them any issues. I think they'll be able to pull this off. Then we also have Refscar, Della, and Focus going the fields. As much as I give him a hard time as a joke, I love gassing up Refsguard. I think this team definitely has the potential to get a cheeky win or a top 5. They're drop solid. They got a lot of teams around them they can contest to get their surge and get their damage on, which I think will help their early game quite a lot. Lunex, QB, and Sanguild, they're just looking very good as a trio. This is one of my more underrated picks. They are going to be going the damn Tayson's usual drop, which is extremely good for their loot. I'm excited to see what they can pull off. Then we have Guden, Clown, and Moneymaker. Now, this one might be me predicting a bit with my heart here. I want Moneymaker to make grand finals. He's been struggling a bit over the last year, but I think he definitely has the potential. They're going Whiffy, Wharf. Moneymaker's playing with a Swedish trio, which means we're going to get Swedish money, which if you watch his streams, you know that's very different. English money, gigantic troll, never locked in, would never trust him with anything. Swedish Moneymaker, meanwhile, though, when he's locked in, dialed in, he is a very good player, especially at the moment, coming off the back of a good solos performance. Then Skyjump, Mumsy, and Shaco's. Now, we haven't had a chance to really see how good this trio is because they've been contesting Queasy at Seaport the whole time. Now they're uncontested. Let's see if they can have the same success Queasy did. I know Queasy's going to be sitting back, hate watching, hoping they don't qualify because they've said if they qual, they're going to be dropping on him in the finals. I kind of expected Queasy to pull out the typical strat of reaching out to underrated teams and seeing if they would take him coaching them to try to get them to drop Seaport and then qualify with his assistance. Looks like that hasn't happened this time around. Skyjump, Mumsy, and Shaco's will be unconned at Seaport, and I think that could see them making grants.